everyone, and welcome to New Trials, the podcast. I'm Preya.
And I'm Melanie.
The New Trials of Card Captor Sakura, Syaoran, and Friends is a popular ongoing fanfic by Wishluv, and it's based off of Clan's Card Captor Sakura. And in each episode, we'll do a deep dive of a new chapter. Let's get into it. Now, for Alliance of the Stars, we see your comments, but Melanie and I decided that we will read and relate to them as separate bonus episodes throughout Arc 3, seeing that these chapters are already very long.
Yeah, we don't want to keep you guys here for longer than we need to.
Okay, since we're right in the middle of the intermission, we're just going to go dive in the chapter without a little discussion because we're going to be talking long enough. The audiobook was 3 hours and a half, which is wild.
Yeah, and before we really get going, I apologize for the constant swallowing sounds throughout this chapter. Like, I was annoying myself listening to this, but okay. So here's the thing. Sometimes when I get in the zone, like I said last time, I recorded last chapter and this chapter all in one huge chunk one night. And so I can definitely tell by the time I got to this part, my voice was really starting to go, blah, blah, blah. So sometimes when I get in the zone, especially with Syaoran's voice, I like to just keep going. Because I've noticed sometimes if I drink water or try to drink something, it's hard for me to get back to where he needs to be. So anyway, I don't know if anyone noticed it except me, but I was annoyed listening to it.
Well, to be honest, yes, I heard it, but was I annoyed? No. Because this is a hard job, and do what makes you comfortable. So it didn't annoy me in the least.
Well, you're also a kind soul.
It's okay. The New Trials fandom is filled with kind souls. We're all in good company.
Anyway.
So the release date of this chapter is July 14th, 2002. So 3 months after chapter 40, and it's an update in honor of Syaoran's birthday. The word count is 28,142 words. And I think this is the last time that we're going to be in September. I think the next chapter we're going to change months, but I think this is the end of September while the characters are in 9th grade. Okay, I'm going to read the summary, and just for a heads up, I'm not going to break down like every single thing of this chapter. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick out some points of like that I noticed or foreshadowing. So I think that's the approach I'm going with the long chapters for Arc 3. So for everybody who wants to know what really goes on in the chapter, here is the summary. As Syaoran and Sakura continued the play, Syaoran ad-libbed, which both annoyed Sakura and made her feel like she and Syaoran were in a familiar place. Unlike the first part, the treasures in the second part were fakes. However, during the last act, when the 5 treasures were gathered, after a split-second blackout, the fakes were once again replaced with the real ones. There was a brilliant light, and Sakura decided that she had to go in the mirror to locate the strange aura. In there, she found herself led to the fate, who determined and controlled human life. After Sakura did not give in to the temptation of learning of her own future, the fate sent her to witness horrifying scenarios and showed her how it wasn't her place to fight fate or intervene with lives of others. Yet, Sakura refused to accept fate. In the present, the Dark Ones froze the audience, but the magical people were able to withstand the spell. Ariel told Nakuru how Chloe Reed failed to capture the fate and seal it as a clue card. Aaron and Erika wondered if Sakura would overcome fate, and realizing their earrings were gone, Aaron cursed Kai. Syaoran looked for Sakura. He then found himself in the scene when Nadeshiko first met Fujitaka, but he noticed his father and Mizuki Miura in the back. Ryoren admitted that though the last time Nadeshiko saw him was when they confronted the last Dark Force, he still had not left Japan. Though he loved her, he knew he couldn't be with her, since her destiny was with Fujitaka. After seeing Fujitaka, he could now move on. Syaoran watched the scene with no response, and the Fate interpreted it as his acceptance of fate. Meanwhile, Sakura was a wreck over the scene, not understanding why there was suffering. Still defiant, the Fate exposed her to the gruesome scenes of the Black Death. Syaoran stopped her from using the heel, telling her that she couldn't change history. Sakura accused him of having no pity and not being human, but immediately regretted her words as it hurt Syaoran. He told Sakura that by knowing her, he had become human. Back with the Fate, Sakura still insisted that she had control over herself. That was when the riddle made another appearance, but Sakura chased it away when she stated that nothing can control the firm resolve of a determined soul. The Fate tried to break Sakura by reminding her of Nadeshiko and Ryuren's tragic ending, but she knew better, as she remembered that they met one last time to mend their friendship before dying. To prove her point, she used Return and accidentally went too far back to the moment where Nadeshiko, Ryuren, Miara, and Keisuke were creating Starcrossed. She succeeded with her second try, and everyone witnessed Ryuren and Nadeshiko mending their friendship as adults instead of parting as enemies to show that it's better to act late than never. The Fate submitted to Sakura and was captured. Syaoran and Sakura exited the mirror and continued the play. Sakura was shocked when Syaoran kissed her lips. The production closed with Nadeshiko and Ryuren's recording of the closing number that played in harmony with the Seiju High Orchestra, which Kai discovered as the meaning of the broken star symbol. When it was time for the students to be greeted by their families after the finale, Malin had a bouquet ready for Syaoran thanks to Kai's thoughtful reminder, which made her see another side of him. However, she went one step further and gave Kai white roses, which he was stunned to receive. Unfortunately, she spoiled the mood when she brought up Kai's broken promise of not stealing, which left him hurt. Backstage, Syaoran looked for the ring and diamond necklace when he bumped into Aaron, who was looking for the earrings. Sakura noticed Aaron was more human when he told her where to find Syaoran instead of lying. Sakura decided in the end Syaoran won the bet. They said he had a good luck ribbon, and he said he already collected his prize on stage. Syaoran asked Sakura if she was free the next day, but she wanted to spend time with her family, and thought about the day he would tell her his true feelings. Okay, so we're at the second half of Starcrossed, and once again, I am so giddy about the music in the audiobook.
Thank you. I'm still pretty pleased with this chapter as well. I really, really like what I did with it.
Romeo and Juliet meet in secret, and in Arc 4, S&S meet in secret after they make up on the bridge.
Ah, that's true. I forgot about that.
So, Syaoran improvises to playfully push Sakura's buttons, but if I were her, I would be infuriated, because I would just been thrown off.
I'm trying to think if that ever happened to me during a production, because I'm one of those actors that I am not good at ad-libbing. I'm not good at what's the word I'm searching for?
Improvising?
Yeah, improv. Yeah, I suck at improv. I am really bad at it. Like, in fact, in my theater class, we had a whole section on improv, and I begged my teacher. I was like, can I please do something else to make this great? I was like, I will memorize an entire monologue and I will recite it to you. Or I will read Shakespeare's The Tempest and I will write a paper for you. I was like, is there anything I can do besides improv? And I think he ended up having me memorize a serious solo and a funny solo, and I had to recite it to him, and then that's how I got my grade. But anyway, I don't know if it would throw me off per se, but with how bad I am at improv, yeah, it would probably take a second to get back in character for me.
When we were in the 9th grade, we had to get into groups, and we had to write and perform plays for our class. And there was one scene that I was supposed to interrupt, but it was written in the script, but I kind of jumped the gun, and I kind of said my line before it was time, and one of my friends in the group just like picked up what I dropped and steered me back on course.
Nice. Good. It's a good friend.
When they talked about going off to a faraway land and forgetting their troubles, that was giving me major fantasy vibes.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Major fantasy foreshadow, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Both for Miho and when they go back later in Arc 4. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, right now, since we're Arc 3, I'm definitely, like, more thinking about Miho. But yes, Sakura's fantasy is definitely going to play a hand in New Trials for sure.
This does drive me a little crazy, though, because if they would have just ran off right then and there, everything would have been fine. And then they could have came back years later and, like, asked for parents' forgiveness. Like, obviously I know why they can't, but it's just one of those things where, like, when you listen to it and your heart just breaks knowing what's going to happen, and it's like, just run away now. You both don't care. You both love each other. Just run away now.
And that's what fan fiction is for.
Preach, girlfriend, preach.
It's so ironic that the Montagues and Capulets are fighting tooth and nail for these treasures, and Romeo and Juliet have to hide their love, when if they just got married, there would be an alliance, and then they would all have ownership of the treasures.
100% true.
Yeah.
Well.
Ooh, yes. What's the catch?
This is back in forever times ago, so I don't think the girl would, like, all Capulet's treasures would be owned then by the Montagues, because they would own the girl. It'd be like her dowry, because it's not technically hers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're thinking too modern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like, I just finished watching Game of Thrones, and there's a lot of like alliances by marriages, etc. So maybe that's why my mind is going there too.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense on paper and it would probably, but I think it wouldn't be advantageous for the Capulets, because then the Montagues would own everything, because
Fair point. Yeah, I agree with you there. I want to pull out the last quote of this scene. After showing a lingering smile on his face to Juliet, Romeo turned around and walked away, letting the reassuring smile drop, revealing the tension that such happy days were limited.
And that's what he does at the harbor.
Yeah, this is such foreshadowing for the end of Arc 3. It breaks my heart.
This literally, I mean, of course, we'll get to that. Like, I literally just finished yesterday's letter last week, I want to say, so it's pretty fresh in my mind. And that exact quote of, like, turning his back and then letting his smile drop, like, that whole sentence is literally recycled in yesterday's letter. So this is like major foreshadow.
The music that you used for the dramatic scene of the fighting scene is so foreboding. Kudos to you, Melanie. Now, I've read Starcrossed so many times. This is when I've enjoyed it the most.
Aw, thank you. And actually, I had a lot of fun with that scene.
Oh yeah, the Takashi death scene is as dramatic as he wanted to be, and he really nailed it.
Thank you. Like, at first I was just gonna read it, like, but I was like, no. I was like, Takashi would put some flair into it. Like, he would be dramatic, and so I had fun with it.
Yeah, you really delivered. I completely believed that was Takashi's portrayal of that character. Romeo gets banned from Verona after killing off Aki's character, Tybalt Capulet, and that totally makes me think of Syaoran's self-imposed ban from when he was powerless and didn't allow himself to think he can return to Japan. I could be reaching, but that's what made me think of. Each music piece supersedes the last. The church scene, where you had the track with the choir, was so powerful.
Thank you. And at first I almost didn't use it, because I was like, oh, it has people singing in the background. But then later, when I get to this later quote of when Tomeo is thanking everybody, she thanks the chorus. And I'm like, oh, I can use it. I can use it. So then I went back and I like added it in afterwards. But thank you. I almost didn't use it though. It almost did not make the cut.
Oh, it really worked in the chapter for sure.
Thank you.
Romeo not seeing Juliet at the church is just as infuriating as Syaoran's mixed signals towards Sakura throughout New Trials.
I will say, one thing Wish-chan does really well, and we'll talk about it a little bit more once we get to the death scene, but in my humble opinion, the main villain in Romeo and Juliet to me has always been the friar. Like, to me, he is the one that is the cause of, like, everything that happens. And so I do kind of like that his character gets a little redeemed in Wish-chan's Starcrossed, because I have hated that character for years and years and years. So it is nice to see him get a little redemption, but at the same... And so at first, like, when I was recording the scene, it was like, oh, Juliet's in the chapel or blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, here the friar's going to lie to Romeo and say, oh, I haven't seen Juliet. I don't know where she is. But then he's like, no, she's in there. You should go talk to her. And I was like, redemption.
I have a feeling that Wish-chan probably thinks the same way you do.
I think so, too. Because didn't she say that Romeo and Juliet is also her favorite?
It must be.
I think it is, but yeah, I think I think you're right, but I have always hated this friar. We'll talk about it more when we get to the death scene and stuff, but yeah, but redemption.
We get the scene where Count Paris and Juliet talk about their impending nuptials, and Aaron's earnestness with the way he was so insistent about being in love with Sakura's character must have been a little too much art imitating life for her.
Yeah.
The scene where the friar recommends that Juliet forgets about Romeo, and she insists that she can't, it really makes me think of the upcoming memory saga in the next arc.
Oh, that is a good pickup. I did not pick up on that. Good job.
Wish-chan always said that she only had up to the end of arc 3 planned out, so it's hard to guess the difference between foreshadowing and coincidence, but like, we know what we know, and if I want to make the lines, I'll draw the lines.
Oh yeah, I agree. I co-sign.
Now, that being said, Juliet crying over how Romeo left without saying goodbye, well, that's a big old stab in the heart.
Well, and that's another foreshadow, because Syaoran leaves without saying goodbye to her, which leads to the whole Yesterday's Letter chapter.
Yes, I believe that everything that we connect to Yesterday's Letter is definitely foreshadowing on Wish-chan's part.
Yes.
The friar hatches a plan that reunites Romeo and Juliet along with the 5 treasures in order for a wish to be granted. I guess backstage, Sakura opens up to Tomoyo about her anxiety about a dark force ruining the production, as if the poor girl doesn't have enough things to worry about.
And I think her talking to Tomeo about this made when Goth Cinderella happens in arc 4, this is why Tomeo and Earl hatched the plan of like making all the troublemakers be a huge part of the production so it doesn't happen. Yeah,
well, the Sand still makes its debut, so that didn't work out that well.
That's right, man.
Aaron rubbing it in that Romeo and Juliet will never work out, as it's written in the stars, kind of harkens back to the curse of the Dark Ones that they're all trying to break.
Yes, I agree.
The Paris and Juliet breakup scene is interesting to listen to again, considering that we will have a Sakura and Aaron relationship breakup in arc 4.
Mm-hmm. Which I love.
I know. We were so happy when the day finally came. And I still remember it. I don't want to go for burgers. You like fast food. Fast food makes me sick. I like fine dining. I'm tired of being someone I'm not. We're broken up. Mwah. That is my parting gift.
Man, you do remember. I don't remember that.
And there's not even a fan art. I think I was just so happy. I probably read that more than once.
Oh, Oh, that is peak. That is so funny.
Syaoran punching Aaron must have been so satisfying on stage. And I wonder, I don't know, because they're going to have an altercation later on in Arc 3, but for this, I'm not sure if that's actual foreshadowing or a coincidence.
Yeah, well, actually, it's in the next, I don't know if it's in the next chapter or the chapter after, but it's pretty soon.
It's pretty soon. It's definitely Arc 3, and it's definitely, like, I remember him winning an award and then getting in big trouble.
Yes. Yeah.
Now we're at the part where all the prop treasures are gathered and the lights went out. It only took a second and the treasures were swapped with the real 5 Force treasures. Now, we talked about Kai's power with the wind, but that does not begin to explain what just happened in the middle of a rather public scene. I'm just confused.
I just think he's a magician. Magicians have their ways. I don't know, who knows, but I mean, and how he's able to nick the earrings off of Erdan and Eureka while they're wearing them, you know, and I mean, magic.
Yeah, like his accomplice is Parrot-chan, and like maybe Parrot-chan can do some help. Like after all, the parrot did steal this. I think the parrot stole the sword, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, but like. I've read this before, I'm reading this again, and I still can't make heads or tails of it.
I wonder, now that we're talking about this, I wonder if maybe eventually we'll discover that not only can Kai control like wind and stuff, but I wonder if maybe he can also control time. Like he can freeze time if he wants to and do stuff like that. That'd be kind of cool. That'd be super useful if you were a thief.
That would be very useful, yeah.
You know? And maybe since it's his power, it's not detectable to others, kind of like the wind and stuff. But that would... I don't know. Just
we know that, like, he hypnotizes Miho and the ski trip. That's power. Yeah, I guess Kai is just like an enigma wrapped in a mystery, or whatever the saying goes.
Wrapped in a leather coat.
In black. Has to be with sunglasses.
And spiked hair.
After some back and forth, Sakura made the decision to go inside the mirror, even though Syaoran was quite reluctant for her to do so. We do get a sweet reminder that he still has the good luck charm, aka ribbon. We meet the Fate, and they give her a chance to look into her future, which she declines. I really like the voice that you used for the Fate. It reminds me a bit of the riddle, but less snarky.
Thank you! Actually, very good pickup. That is the same cadence as the riddle, except a little bit more feminine. Good job, Preya! You do love me.
I love you so much! Sakura gets a lesson from the Fates about how she cannot change the past, and it's just a reminder of how lucky we are to be born in this time and place. My cousin Debbie, who is in her 50s and single by choice, once said that she was grateful to be born in the United States, because if she was born in Guyana, she would have most definitely been forced to be married off.
Yeah, well, you know, it's one of those things where, like, speaking as an American going through a very tough time right now, but, you know, like, yeah, times are tough right now, but reading this chapter, reading the things that Sakura sees, especially as a mom, like, I don't know if you're going to talk about the specific scenes in here that she sees, but, like, I had a really hard time reading this, now, especially now that I'm a mom, and, it just broke my heart, but yeah, it does make you thankful to live in the time frame that we do, for sure.
Yeah.
So my question for you is, if you got offered the chance to see in your future and know what's going to happen, would you take it?
I would say no, because then I would just be too paranoid to, like, do everything I could to stay on the course, and I would just, like, second guess everything. Like, yeah. There is the book, Time Traveler's Wife, and like, okay, spoilers for Time Traveler's Wife, but in the book, he tells her that they will meet one more time when she's old, and she literally just does the same thing every single day in order to not miss this chance. Whereas I think in the movie, he doesn't tell her, and it just, like, so happens that they see each other again even after he's gone. So, just by reading the book and the way that the main character just, like, sat in one place all day just to wait for the opportunity to see her love again. She doesn't know which day, so she's just hovering in the same area. Like, that's not a life.
Yeah. No, you make a very, very good, solid point. Because I was kind of on the fence. I was like, it would be nice to know some events, like what happened, you know, like things I would like the answer to, like right now, you know, like, but at the same time, you bring up a very good point, though, of like, well, if I know said things, am I going to be obsessing about it constantly? Is it going to make my already anxiety-riddled brain even be more anxious? So you gave me some things to think about, some food for thought. But I would love to hear everyone's answers down below, because I just think it's an interesting topic.
I'll try to remember to post it in the Facebook post. In the auditorium, we learn from Ariel that time actually stopped, and only those with powers sensed it. Ariel also mentioned that Chloride was enabled to seal the fate himself. And this is a scene where, like, even Toya is frozen, but like they kind of explain it, saying, "Oh yeah, second sight doesn't count. That's like they'll be under the spell too."
I was a little surprised to see he was frozen, though.
Yeah, but like, you know, how many people are? It's like if we have an awake Toya, he's gonna like, you know, jump in the mirror after Sakura and then cause more problems to everybody.
True. And then I think that whole thing of like Chloride not being able to seal the fate and stuff, I think that is, I don't know, foreshadows well, maybe, but like with him and the whole, is it Mika? The whole Mika thing we're going to find out later.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, they said like, you know, he tried to do the fate and then he tried to do all these things to bring her back and then he couldn't, you know. So I think it's also kind of Wish-Chan setting the foundation for that we're going to find out later.
Oh, I didn't make that connection. Very good pickup. We get a moment with the twins after they realize that their earrings are gone. Now, I just don't know how Kai managed to pull that off, but Aaron knew Kai was responsible. So somehow his fingerprints were all over. In the mirror, Syaoran sees the moment where Fujitaka and Nadeshiko meet for the first time, and he catches Ryurin watching the scene unfold. We get an intense conversation between Ryurin and Miara, where he admits that he loves Nadeshiko, but fate made sure to put the two of them on different lines. And I just love how we have Clamp's canon scene, and then Wish-Chan, like, inserts her OC. It's, like, missing moments. One of my favorite tropes.
So good. So it's, like, it's so heartbreaking, but it's so good at the same time.
Yeah, because, like, we're all visualizing it. We've all read it in the manga. We've seen it in the anime. But to know that there's, like, this tall, dark, handsome figure lurking in the background. We're continuing our journey through time, and as hard as COVID was, it was no Black Death, and for that I'm grateful.
Hey, we just had our 5-year anniversary with that guy, so happy anniversary.
Your English in a French accent was super good.
Was it?
Yes, it was.
I'm sure you were gonna like.
I liked it a lot.
I thought for sure you were going to tell me how bad it was.
No, because it's like you're not speaking French, but it really sounded like you were trying very hard with the French accent, and you succeeded.
Thank you. I was trying my best to, like, channel Fleur from Harry Potter.
Yes.
Harry Potter, guys, take a drink. I was like, she talks like this and stuff and that, and so that's what I was trying to do.
No,
so.
that's it. Definitely, you definitely nailed it.
Okay, well, I'm glad it didn't come off cringy.
No. I really enjoyed it.
Good.
This is when Syaoran caught up with Sakura when she was trying to use her power to help people. Sakura challenged Syaoran for not wanting to make an effort, telling him that he was no different from them, aka the Fate, and that kind of cut a little deep.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when Sakura calls him a hypocrite. That's what Melanie told us was going to happen, even if Syaoran tried to defend himself. Sakura did go too far when she claimed he wasn't human, but at least she immediately regretted it. Still, that launches Syaoran in a pretty impressive speech about how he wasn't human when he came to Japan, but meeting Sakura changed that for him. He also said that he controlled his own destiny. The Fate scoffed, and Sakura decided that it was her turn to go back in time.
Which, what a good idea on Wish-chan's part. Like, because I was thinking, like, because even when I was reading this for the audiobook again, it'd been a while since I had read Arc 3 and Starcrossed and stuff. And even while I knew the fates happened, of course, but I couldn't remember how Sakura captured the fate. And for some reason, I thought this was one of those forces where Sakura ended up not being able to capture it or something. And so when this whole thing happened, I was like, oh, smart Wish-chan. Like, very, especially using an OG card too, of all things. Like, very, very, very good, Wish-chan.
I truly love how they went too far back to the creation of Starcrossed, which is fitting considering that we're smack in the middle of the musical.
Mm-hmm.
Nadeshiko and Miera bickered about how the musical should end in terms of whether it should stay a tragedy or not. And at this point, I actually didn't remember how Starcrossed ended. So, like, I didn't know which one of them was going to get their way.
And and we'll get to it
Yes.
soon. But like, I also like as I was recording the audiobook, I was like, I know they both die, but this is giving me hope that maybe one of them won't. And it's like Wish-chan tricked me again. I was like, maybe he's gonna make it.
We get a scene between Ryuren and Yelan, and I'm really glad that Syaoran got to witness this, because he's never seen his parents interact as a teenager.
Or ever, really, because he can't remember his dad.
Like, he remembers bits and pieces of age 3, but not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But, and let's just give Yelan the MVP award for encouraging Ryuren to go to Japan and tie up the loose ends. I think if it wasn't for that conversation, he would have just let sleeping dogs lie.
Well, and the parallel with her and Mei Lin that Sakura makes too, I think is really poetic and really beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Ryuren and Nadeshiko finally meet as adults, and this has to be one of my favorite Nad Ryu scenes, even if they were so close to the end of their lives. But I think I'm just biased because we get 3-year-old SNS.
It's very good. It's very cute.
Now, Ryuren gives Nadeshiko the sheet music. Now, is this what SNS find in Arc 1? I don't remember.
Yes, I think so.
Because they play it, so it's gotta be what they find.
Yeah. You are correct.
Nice. Now, I thought both Nadeshiko and Ryuren sealed the plague in their bodies. So why is Nadeshiko closer to death?
So I was thinking about this as I was driving around listening to this the other day. And my only thought, and again, we don't really know how they've gone about capturing dark forces back in the day because Wish-chan hasn't really answered that question. But going off of my hunch that it's sort of like a Miko type, priestessy type vibe where she kind of like, I don't know, uses those type of things to like trap them somewhere is kind of where I'm going off of. And so I think she's the one doing the priestessy trapping of the spirit thing. And so since she's the one controlling that part of it, and I think everyone else was kind of like helping her by supplementing their powers to her, I think she purposely took more than anybody else because she was just that type of empathetic person. And then Ryuren, I think, pushed a little bit more, so he made sure he got some too. And then, of course, then Miara, I think, got the less brunt of it, you know. But that's my going theory, is that Nadesco gave herself more of it than Ryuren because she was the one shielding, trapping the spirit or whatever within her body. That's my going theory.
I like your theory. I was like really drawing a blank, but what you said really makes sense. Like, we don't see a lot of their captors. We saw their encounter with the whip, and then there was this like flashing light, and then it was gone. So it's very vague. But I really like your theory, and I'm ready to apply it.
Yeah, I think Wishin has insinuated that I think we'll get the answer to this in Arc 4 somewhere within the next couple of chapters, whenever that happens. We love you. So I think we'll find out soon enough, because I think someone asked that sort of in like a Q&A, and she wouldn't quite answer it because she said it could be a possible spoiler. So anyways, but we will see. But yeah, that's my little ongoing working theory at the moment.
Okay, very cool. Sakura returns to the present and basically throws the fact that Nadrayu parted as friends in the Fates' face. Says, even though they didn't end up together, they did end on good terms, which went against the prophecy of how their free will of doing this made them die hopeful rather than with despair. And this was enough to sway the dark force, and this is how they accepted to be sealed. So bravo to Sakura. Syaoran was super impressed.
Such a good scene, Wish-chan. Brilliant job.
This is what triggered the opening of the mirror, and SNS exited. So I have to ask, what was the point of the 5 treasures being together? To capture the Fates?
So I sort of have a theory about that as well, ish. I don't know.
'Cause I'm going on nothing. It's like, the 5 treasures got together at the end of Arc 3 when Sakura was, like, really using up all her energy to capture the dark force that was killing everybody or making everybody sick. That's one thing. But, what was the point, Kai? What's the point?
So, in the play, it says, like, once all the treasures are gathered, you can make a wish.
Yes.
And then, so I think there's 2 ways to look at this. It's either, A, Kai wanted to be as original to the idea and production as possible, so he produced the real stuff. There's that. Or, he gathered them all so that when they make the wish at the end of this production, sorry, I just had balloons pop up on my screen and it made me laugh. Okay, but then when they make the wish at the end of the production, I almost wonder if that was kind of a real wish. You know what I mean? Since all the treasures were there. Does that make sense? Like maybe Kai thought that. I don't know. Plan B is like, but I'm inclined to think it was just Kai being cheeky and wanting to be as close to the real production as possible. But then a part of me is like, oh, actually, I just thought of, because he hadn't been able to get the earrings before, and now he stole the earrings, so now he has all the treasures now. Because I don't think Erdon and Eureka get their earrings back.
They don't get their earrings back because they wear different earrings, and then Kai is like, oh, that's a nice earring, but it's not as important as the other one.
Yeah, so I think this was a whole ruse for him, and like, A, to make the production as real as possible, but then B, his ulterior motive was to finally steal all the 5 Force treasures because they all disappear after the production.
Yes.
And then C, maybe there's a wish at the end of it. Who knows?
Yeah, no, you definitely make a good point, because it's true. Aaron is going to be wearing a different earring, and then Kai is going to make a snide remark about it. So so it's true. Like the twins, they're not getting their earrings back anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think they get them back until yesterday's letter. I think is the chapter they finally get it back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. Okay, we're back at Starcrossed, where Romeo and Juliet finally reunite. The whole dialogue about him leaving without saying goodbye made me so sad for what's to come at the end of Arc 3, as we've mentioned multiple times during this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Juliet gets stabbed when protecting Romeo from Paris's attack, and this reminds me of when she was willing to sacrifice herself when she was fighting the plague. Melanie, what is wrong with me? I can't say this word. Plague. It's plague. Again. It's like,
you're just so smart and know so many languages in your head that,
yeah.
It's okay. I can't say bosom or bosom, whatever.
Okay.
There's also a word in here that Wish-chan loves to use all the time that I cannot say, like stately or steadily, or I don't know. I usually always change it in the audiobook. Like, I used to try to pronounce it, then I was like, F it, I'm not doing that. So finally, I just changed it. Sorry, Wish-chan, but I'll have to point it out next time I see it. But it's like steadily or
steadily. Who knows? Like, I was ready to write plague with Playgue just so I wouldn't pronounce it wrong, and I didn't. Okay, here we go again.
And then another one she does all the time is perspiring, and that's another word I can't say. Perspiring. So I usually just change it to sputting. Sorry, Wish-chan.
Okay, Juliet gets stabbed when protecting Romeo. Oh, I said that too, Chipper. Juliet gets stabbed when protecting Romeo from Paris' attack, and this reminds me of when she was willing to sacrifice herself when she was fighting the plague. Now, I won't break down the death scene, but I just want to say, Melanie, your acting was outstanding.
Aw, thank you so much.
But we will talk about the kiss. Just imagine being Sakura in this moment. The way that Wish-chan wrote the scene was so delicious that I wish there was more romance in New Trials.
I again, it's like that woman gaze thing again. Like, I love the fact he kisses her between her brows first. I think that's so romantic. And then he kisses her on the lips. Like,
Now, we get a reference to the train kiss, which Sakura admits to pretty much gaslighting herself when she convinced herself that it didn't actually happen. But, folks, we get an acknowledgement that it did happen, because she was relieved that this stage kiss wasn't her first one.
And fast forwarding to Arc 4, if girl says swing kiss was made up in her head, I'm gonna smack Sakura. You are 16, 17 years old, girl. You cannot have this many memory issues. Like, you need to go see a neurologist.
Well, in the beginning of the Syaoran birthday chapter, when Ariel was tutoring her, and she was like daydreaming about it, and she's like, nah, that didn't happen.
I remember every kiss, every smooch I've ever had in my life. You know, like, girls remember that crap, you know?
We're programmed to. It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. True story.
Now, SNS has a whispered conversation about said kiss, and I shrieked when Syaoran said he was taking advantage of the situation.
Oh, so good. So good.
Okay, continuing on. Romeo dies, thus confirming that this is indeed a tragedy that Miara wanted, even though Nadeshiko wanted the end to change.
Would everyone like a medical lesson of the day?
Yes, please.
Would you like to know how he could survive getting stabbed, but then only to die like 30, 40 minutes later?
Go for it.
Do you have any idea?
Nope.
Okay. So what happens is when something like that happens, some type of internal injury, what can happen is an adrenaline response where your body will basically just go into overdrive mode. It will trick you into thinking you're fine, everything's working well. It's usually like, think you get injured, you get hit, you get in a car, you get in like an accident of some sort, but then everything is happening around you, and so you're more like focused on everything else, and your body's and your mind is focused on anything else, so it can't focus on the fact of its internal injuries. And then after everything is settled down, that's when your body goes into shock. And so that's what happened to him, is his body finally went into shock, and then he passed away. So that's
psychological then.
Yes, so that's why, guys, if you ever get into a car accident, the paramedics are going to ask you, do you want to go to the hospital? And even though it's annoying, even though here in America it's expensive, you should always say yes and go to the hospital and get checked out, because you never know. You never know what's going on inside of you. Or like, for instance, if you ever are skiing, let's say you hit your head, and you think, oh, I'm fine, and then you go around and then it hits you later. That's what happens in these type of scenarios. Like Natasha Richards, she's an actress that this happened to. So anytime you have an injury, and if you think, man, I really hurt myself there, but I seem okay, you should go to the hospital and get checked just in case. Anyway.
Thanks, Melanie.
Take a drink, medical lesson.
The musical ends with the two families agreeing to end the feud, and they erected a golden statue of Romeo and Juliet. Now, I was actually going to call it BS, because there is no way a high school production could pull off such a prop. But Wish-chan was one step ahead of us, as always, and it explained that it was an art piece on loan by Shing.
Which is double ironic, because it's actually Tanaka.
I know. And then the models are actually not Nadeshiko and Ryurin.
So good.
And I have to acknowledge the way you embedded the violin duet. I actually completely forgot that Kai found the original recording of Nadeshiko and Ryurin, but I am skeptical that Sakura only recognized it now, when she was literally playing it a year ago with Syaoran.
Agreed. That's why, I don't know, I tried to fix it a little bit, because, you know, at the end when they say, like, the theme piece came back, like, that I made a little bit different. Mm-hmm. But then this part, I wanted to make sure, obviously, it was our violin duet. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of made it echo at the end, too, so it seemed like more violins were, like, joining in on their original audio, you know, to make it sound more dynamic. But anyway, but yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Starcrossed is officially over, and the applause you inputted was very fitting.
Thank you.
In the credits, Tomoyo acknowledges Nadeshiko Ryurin, Miera, and Keisuke. Miho knows about her mom's involvement, but has there been any recognition that Tanaka-san is her father?
Oh, good question. I don't know.
Because, like, they don't talk about him. In the flashback, that was SNS seeing him for the first time, because they described him as a university-aged man. So, like, prior to this, Keisuke's never been in any of the flashbacks. But his name is on the script. Plot hole! Speaking of fathers, the Sakura and Fujitaka reunion was so sweet. Mm-hmm. We get a super cute flashback of Kai reminding Meilin to give Syaoran flowers, since she was the only one who was there for him. And this is exactly why Kai is Syaoran's BFF.
Yes! I think that is such a sweet and kind gesture, you know, like, and it's even for Wish-chan to even think of that, like, you know, Kai is like the delinquent, blah blah blah, only out for himself. But then he remembers he's like, hey, my bestie needs flowers, so I'm gonna go tell my girl to get him flowers. Like, oh, I love it.
Malin gave Syaoran flowers and took the extra step of getting Kai white roses as well. He was super grateful, but then she made a jab of how he broke his promise not to steal anymore, and she thought she was being like all teasing and playful, but it totally killed the mood when Kai apologized and slunk off. I felt so bad. Well, I still have a long way to go.
That's why I tried to say it in kind of a deadpan way, because it's like it didn't come off as a joke, so I didn't want to say it in the cadence of a joke, you know, and so like that way, like Kai like hears it brusque, because to me it's like, oh, it's probably not the best time, Malin.
But Malin. We get the cornucopia of the audience reactions, and you must have had so much fun doing dozens of voices.
I did have fun with it.
You did a really good job at making them different.
Thank you.
It's funny because you had that one guy saying, blood.
I knew you'd like that one. Blood.
And you probably don't remember, but back in the Yahoo group, we were having this discussion of like old viral videos. Like this was like sort of even pre-YouTube, or maybe it was like the dawn of YouTube. And then there was this like kid whose like baby brother or something cut himself, and there was like a bunch of blood, and the toddler is like, blood, blood, blood. And Wish-chan, she said that one cracked her up.
I don't remember that one.
Syaoran and Aaron were both looking for the treasures they lost. When Aaron left, Sakura came and she just said that the real 5 forest treasures in the productions was a nice touch, but that still doesn't explain why Kai gathered them. So like your first theory, he stole it for aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
The chapter ends with SNS playfully bickering about who won the bet. Sakura insisted that it was Syaoran, but was taken off guard when he reminded her what they betted. He kindly said that he collected his prize on stage. Meh. If he played his cards right and didn't spring that on her, he probably could have gotten away with another kiss. But we mustn't be greedy. He tried to ask her out again, but to be fair, her family just came back to town, so of course she's gonna spend time with them. But he did think to himself how someday he would tell her his true feelings, and of course Wish-chan had to go rub salt in the wound by writing, and meanwhile, I will continue to stand by your side and never leave you.
Oh, Wish-chan. The NT fandom collectively cry.
Moving on to Dark Forces Corner. Sakura meets the 3 fates in the mirror, and interestingly enough, they first appeared as real women, but just as quickly shifted into ugly hags. So I thought that was an interesting little tidbit. We get a mention of the whip when she was in the mirror, and a convenient reminder that Syaoran took the brunt of the force, because this conversation is going to come up. Sakura summons the water for a slave, but the fate intervenes by reminding her that she was born, that the man who was suffering was born to be a slave and will die a slave. Sakura didn't seem to remember her lesson because she was ready to use the heal on those suffering from the plague. The riddle makes an appearance in the mirror, and I forgot he wasn't captured yet.
I completely forgot he showed up in this chapter until it happened. I was like, oh, hey, Riddle.
He asked the riddle, and then he left with his tails between his legs just as quickly because Sakura solved it really quickly. Now, after being blocked from using the last two cards, Sakura finally activates the return. Sakura proves her point of how Nadeshiko and Ryurin resolve their past despite the fate, dooming any future they can have together, and that's how they recognize Sakura as their mistress. Fan art spotlight. SNS's Second Kiss by Wish-chan. On my New Trials Revisited blog, I used this fan art and I commented, I really love that this isn't Sakura's first kiss, which is one good thing to come out of the practically forgotten summer smooch. I like the way we get Sakura's reaction to Syaoran's action and an idea of their costumes.
And I love that it kind of has a bit of clamp flair to it, you know, because of like the roses around it. Ah, so good. So good. Do I see a tongue there, Wish-chan? I see some spice.
She's getting excited. Think about all the shirtless Syaoran she drew. Now it's time for the author's note.
Wish-chan. Well, finally, Starcrossed is out in honor of our favorite Lee Syaoran's birthday. Hee hee. I think this beats the record as the longest time it ever took me to write a chapter. Sorry it took so long. We love you to bits. I hope I will be able to write chapters quicker from now on. It was a real hard chapter to write with lots of things going on as well. Okay, about the chapter. I guess it's kind of really long and confusing at times. Hee hee. I finally wrote the scene where Nadeshiko and Ryurin finally meet again as adults. Plus, Sakura conquers the fate. I guess I write a lot about fate because I'm fascinated by philosophy and psychology. As I mentioned last chapter, though, I have written only the highlights of the play, and you can imagine how long the actual thing is, plus all the solos and singing and music and dancing, etc., 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 etc. Also, the riddle's riddle is derived from a quote by Ella Wheeler Wilcox, written above, and is a new favorite quote of mine. It fits the context nicely, I thought. I guess for the past months you were wondering, will he do it? Will he not? Hee hee, yes he does kiss her! As you can see, I drew up a fan art as a birthday present because I felt guilty because all previous years I had special fan arts up, and this year I didn't. Furthermore, thank you everyone for being so patient, and especially thank you to all those who have emailed me, signed her guest book, and constantly urged her to push on. Yes, everyone, please keep sending her encouragement. Yes. She is in contact with us. She is alive. She is well. But she needs encouragement, not just from Preya and I. Like, everyone, please send her all the love in the world. But we promise she is working on it. She is going to finish it. As much as we love to tease her. Anyway.
You have been listening to New Trials the podcast, where it must rain for there to be a rainbow.
You've been listening to New Trials the podcast. Please be sure to check out the audiobook version of this fanfiction that you can find anywhere that you can find this podcast. Also, please be sure to check out the Facebook fan page for New Trials, where a big part of the discussions happen nowadays. And be sure to stick around next time when we discuss Chapter 42, A Little Girl's Dream.